This is Science Friday. I'm Ira Flato. We're talking soil. Now, I know you might feel the earth move under your feet, but I bet you didn't know that there's soil high above your head, way up in the treetops, where ferns and mosses and flowers grow on top of the forest. Yes, they do. A new study in the journal Geoderma picks apart the factors that drive how canopy soil is made. Joining me is the lead author, Jessica Murray, ecologist and PhD candidate at Utah State University in Logan, Utah. Welcome to Science Friday.
Thank you, Ira. I'm so happy to be here.
It's nice to have you. You know, I'll bet you that hardly anybody has ever heard of canopy soil. Tell us what that is. How does it get up on the top of the trees there?
Yeah, well, I hadn't heard of it either until I saw it pretty much. So canopy soil is called that because it is found in tree canopies, on tree branches, in the crotches of trees. And it develops over long periods of time. We don't know exactly how long, but probably many decades, if not hundreds of years, through the decomposition of epiphytes, which is the name for plants that grow on other plants. You might have mosses, you might have vascular epiphytes, so shrubs, trees, etc. The leaves produced by what we call the host tree, the roots of the epiphytes, any mosses, all of this organic material decomposing over time on tree branches builds up this sometimes really thick layer of soil.
Wow. And your study looked at how the canopy soil is made, right? So tell us, what factors did you zoom in on?
Yeah, so we went into the project thinking, let's find out if canopy soil is vulnerable to climate change. But we actually realized we have to take a few steps back because we don't fully understand where it's even found or how it develops. And so I had noticed in some other work I'd been doing in the canopy that canopy soil isn't as abundant in all forests. And also within a forest, sometimes there's a lot on a certain tree and none on other trees within the same stand. And so we started the project just asking, okay, let's identify some sites that represent different climates. So we worked in Costa Rica using elevation gradients that could sort of give us a gradient of temperature and precipitation. And we wanted to know across forest how different climates might influence how much canopy soil there is. Within a forest, how the amount and also its chemistry might vary. And then even along a branch, we looked at those same questions.
Does that mean you have to go up into the tree?
It does.
Way up into the canopy? What is that like?
Oh, it's amazing, Ira. It's one of the most magical experiences I've had the privilege of having in my life. It's just a totally different world. I've mostly worked in the canopy in Costa Rica in the tropics, where you get, like I mentioned before, these really lush communities of these epiphytic plants. I mean, we're talking literally a forest within a forest. Like,
wow.
If you imagine being a small ant on a branch, I mean, you're walking like there's a little understory of like mosses. There's, in some cases, small trees growing out of tree branches. It's really incredible.
Wow. So how do you get up there? I mean, it's way up there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a decent amount of work. In our case, we have to get a rope over a branch. And yeah, we use a giant slingshot called a big shot. And then we'll pull a rope over. And then we climb the rope, not the tree, using harnesses, ascenders, different types of equipment.
Cool. Okay, so set the scene for me. You're up there, way above us all. You're at the top of the tree. You're in the canopy. What does it look like?
Ooh. Well, yeah, in some of these sites, you are in what feels like a garden of plants, many different leaf-shaped functional groups. So like bromeliads, orchids, bushes. There are a lot of bushes in the blueberry family, actually. At some of these.
Wait a minute. There are blueberry bushes?
Yeah, I mean, not the species blueberry, but the family Ericaceae. Yeah, in some of these sites, there are a lot of plants in that family. So they look kind of like blueberry or like huckleberry plants.
Right.
There are many very beautiful, colorful birds like chlorophonias that will visit the fruits of some of these epiphytes. And sometimes we see monkeys. In Costa Rica, we see 3 different species of monkeys. I've had them come pretty close. It really makes you appreciate how much better they are at being in the canopy than you are.
Are they saying to you, hey, what are you doing up here?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like they're looking at me and making fun of me for having all these like ropes and carabiners and stuff. And they're just like effortlessly hanging by a tail.
That's cool. All right. So you're up there. You're taking samples from different parts of, let's say, a branch. What is in the soil? Did the soil vary from point to point?
Yeah. I mean, a big part of this study was looking at the different scales of variation, like how much does canopy soil abundance and chemical composition vary across forest, within forest, along a branch? And it varies so much along a branch. And I just have so many more questions about why. I think really thinking of this as a forest within a forest is helpful because there's all these different plants. In some cases, it's a really diverse community along a single branch. And I think they're having some really interesting impacts on really small scales over this soil and sort of what it's like.
To learn more and never miss your daily dose of science, subscribe to our podcast.